Thank you for joining me for today's Introduction to FileMaker Custom Apps webinar. I'm going to spend the first 3 to 4 minutes chatting about the FileMaker platform and how it might fit into your business world, and then I'm going to follow that up with about a 20-30 minute demo showcasing how we can use FileMaker to address common, inefficient tasks. So every business, just like yours, has goals to meet in order to stay up and running. And to accomplish the goals, there are specific tasks you and your team must do. So that might include project tracking, customer management, inventory, really many other tasks. And of course, you are performing these tasks today, but do you have the efficiency you need? Is everyone on your team spending their time in productive activities working towards your goals? Well, in talking with thousands of companies, we found out that too often teams end up spending time and effort in unproductive, inefficient activities that make it more difficult to reach your goals. And I'm sure that sounds pretty familiar, right? So many organizations, they operate using paper forms, different types of files and formats, spreadsheets, and then they're working in applications that just don't connect with each other. In fact, according to one survey concerning employees at small and mid-sized firms, well, they spend 50% of their workday engaged in unproductive but necessary activities. So how does operating this way cause productivity drains on your team? Well, one challenge that we hear frequently is scattered information. So it's literally everywhere in multiple applications, in notebooks, and spreadsheets, maybe even on someone's iPad. But wherever it is, it never seems to be where it needs to be. Again, I'm sure this is an area that a lot of you can relate to. Well, according to the Paperless Project, US managers spend an average of 4 weeks a year searching for or waiting on misfiled, mislabeled, untracked, or just plain lost papers. Now, that's a lot of time. That's like taking 1 month out of the calendar year and then just throwing it away. Another challenge is inefficient or ad hoc processes that slow down your team and lead to costly errors. And then, despite people's best intentions, these errors can lead to damaging consequences. The LinkedIn Records Management Professionals Group reports that 67% of data loss is directly related to user blunders. Now, technology can help you conquer some of these challenges, but organizations like yours have a surprisingly difficult time finding technology that fits their needs. And why is that? Well, off-the-shelf applications and App Store apps, they're quick to find and install, but they may not meet all of your needs, and then they can be hard to customize if at all possible. And then companies that hire a programmer to work with traditional programming tools, well, they can get a solution exactly as they want it, but now you're looking at a project that can take up a lot of time and also a lot of money. And then just maintaining that solution can be another large expense. So where does FileMaker fit? Well, FileMaker is a cost-effective, easily customizable alternative that allows you to create custom apps that streamline your business. It's an easy-to-use platform for the novice user and an extremely powerful tool for an experienced developer. Now, what does that FileMaker platform look like? Well, your solutions are always going to start with an idea and a copy of FileMaker Pro Advanced, which is a desktop software for Mac or Windows that allows you to create your apps. And then when you're ready to share your apps with your team, you have the choice to leverage FileMaker Server, an on-premise software application used to host and manage your apps, or you can send them up to the cloud with FileMaker Cloud. And then once the apps are hosted, FileMaker will provide seamless access via FileMaker Pro for the desktop, FileMaker Go for iOS, and WebDirect for desktop, tablet, and phone web browsers. So all of your users, local, remote, desktop, or mobile, they're going to have access to real-time information. So you're given all of the database tools you need to design a better solution that goes wherever your business takes you. And our customers have been leveraging this platform to produce fantastic results across multiple industries. Take, for example, David Stein and Company Conservation of Fine Art. They use FileMaker to track costs, to track time, and work against projects. Cerise Mini, they're an award-winning children's clothing manufacturer, and they leverage FileMaker for real-time reporting, resulting in better coordination between the stores and management for smarter decision-making. Braun Electric Company, they digitized their job safety analysis process. So this used to be a binder full of pages, but now their employees can access risk and safety recommendations just a click away in the field. And Lee Medical's IV Practitioner solution allows nurses to access secure patient information on an iPad from anywhere in the hospital. They reduce the risk of infection by monitoring catheter insertions and catheter maintenance throughout its lifespan, driving down the cost of healthcare. So these are great examples of FileMaker's flexibility. They're all wildly different apps with custom business workflows, but they're all built on the same FileMaker platform. But by now, you're probably thinking, I get it. I can create my own app. The examples you just showed me, well, they look great, but is it really that easy to start building in FileMaker? Can I really start tackling some of these tasks myself? Well, the best way to answer that is to show you. So today, we're going to build a contact management app for an emerging landscaping company called Coastal Corners Landscaping. So let's imagine that all of us attending today, we're members of their outside sales team. Now, you may be in a different industry, and that's okay. The use case for our app isn't particularly important because we're going to be covering techniques and methodologies that apply to all FileMaker solutions. But again, today, we're the outside sales team, and the workflow issues our company experience mirrors a lot of the obstacles that bog down the companies FileMaker talks to on a daily basis. For example, our company stores the majority of their information in spreadsheets, and we work across a team, so as I'm sure most of you know, sharing real-time spreadsheet information is extremely difficult. And we haven't really employed a standard for capturing and tracking information, so data is frequently lost and misfiled. And this is especially frustrating during the cycles we're wasting when it's time to re-enter that information into the main business app. And while moving more toward a mobile deployment makes sense, especially for us as the field team, we just don't have access to a developer for iOS or the web. And I'm sure that rings true for a lot of us, right? Now let's go ahead and take someone from our attendees list. Okay, so all right, today we'll say that Jessie is the owner of our landscaping company, and she's more than aware of the areas bogging down the business because it's costing her company a lot of time and a lot of money. So she's tasked me with creating an app to help streamline the business. Now, I don't have experience building for iOS or the web, much less in traditional tools like SQL and Oracle. So I know that I'm looking at what should be a simple contact management project is most likely going to take weeks, let alone months to accomplish. But that's when I remember the FileMaker platform, and I think I can create exactly what we're looking for. So let's build a custom app. Now here are the three major areas I want to address in my solution. I want to design an interface that makes sense for how we do business. I want to connect all of our related information, and I also want to provide mobile access to satisfy employee demand, as well as staying on top of trends. So we're going to start off by focusing on building out an interface that represents our custom workflow. So I'm going to create a brand new app from scratch, leveraging spreadsheet information I own, and use layouts, fields, and then tools like tab controls to build out our interface. So let's dive in and get started. Now, there's a lot of different ways to get started in FileMaker. You can start from scratch, but if you have spreadsheets, it's really simple to get started. And as we talked about, we store a lot of our information in spreadsheets. Here we have a customer spreadsheet with contact information, as well as a work order spreadsheet. So here are all the jobs we perform for the specific customers. The customers are denoted by this customer column. So what I'm going to do is just take one of these spreadsheets, in particular the customer spreadsheet. I'm just going to drag and drop that right into FileMaker. So let's go ahead and walk over to that customer spreadsheet, drag it into the FileMaker on my desktop. Now I am on a Mac, but these are the same steps that you're going to perform as you're building on a Windows machine. So we'll just go ahead and call this customers, click OK. And just like that, we have a FileMaker database. Now we're immediately taken into a view which we call table view. It's really similar to a spreadsheet-like view. We're also given a second view, which is called a form view. And this is where I can view records one at a time. Now what I like to do next is kind of personalize these layouts. So I'm going to jump into layout mode. And this is where we can design the look and feel of the interface or the app that you're about to create. And I'm going to create a new layout, and you can actually create as many layouts as you want. So I'm going to go ahead and give this layout a name. We're just going to call it customers, and then I can choose what dimensions I want to build this layout for. Is it going to be something for the desktop, maybe something for a mobile device? And then we can even choose to build out layouts for reports, envelopes, and labels. Now I'm going to go ahead and just choose to build out for an iPad because I do know that I want to share this out to my mobile users as well. So I'm going to choose a form and landscape and click on finish. And just like that, we have a blank landscape for us to start designing. Well, the first thing we probably want to do is start personalizing this layout. So I'm going to go ahead and give this layout a name, and I'm going to call this just customers. All right. And I'm going to align this. You see these blue lines that appear? These are what we call dynamic guides, and they just help you align the objects and fields on your layouts. Now, I do have a company logo over here on the right. I'd love to have this logo appear on every single record on this customer's layout. So what I'm going to do is just take that logo and drag and drop it right onto my layout. And you're going to hear me say that a lot, just dragging and dropping. Okay, fantastic start. Now that we have the logo on the layout, we probably want to start adding some information onto our layout. And in FileMaker, information is stored in what we call fields. There's many different field types, and you'll notice that we actually already have some fields populating our app. Now, where did they come from? So when we took that spreadsheet over and dragged it into FileMaker, these fields were automatically created for us. They're essentially just the columns in the spreadsheet. So we could have manually created these apps, but FileMaker just went ahead and did it for us automatically. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a few here. All right, and I'll take this contract type field as well, and I'm just going to drag that right onto our layout. And there it is again, just dragging and dropping. I want to do a little bit of formatting on these fields, in particular this contract type field where we can specify if a contract is monthly or weekly. There's different ways that you can enter data into FileMaker as well. By default, the control style is edit box, which means that you can just click or tap and start typing in data. But you can also choose to have a drop-down list or a pop-up menu, checks box set, radio button set, drop-down calendar, even a concealed edit box. In this scenario, I'm just going to use a drop-down list, and I'm going to specify what type of values I want to have appear in that drop down. So we'll just call this contract type, and I'm going to say monthly and weekly. Click OK. Now I also have images of the areas that we're going to be landscaping for each location, and I'd love to have them appear in this app as well. So I'm going to go back to my field picker and take a look at the fields that I do have. We don't have a field right now to store any media, but that's okay. We're going to click on this new field button, and we're going to create a new field. I'm going to call that photo, and I'm going to change the type from text to a container field. Now a container field stores media, so sound files, movie files, document files, PDF files, all of that will be stored by a container field. So I'm just going to drag this out a little bit here like that. I'm going to exit this layout. We're back in browse mode where we can interact with our interface. And as you can see, we have the appropriate fields that we wanted, and all of the information is there. Again, you have full control over how your layout's going to look and what type of information you want to show for that particular layout. Now, what about this container field? Well, let me walk over to my folder where I have the images of the areas that we'll be landscaping. Here's one for Bryant Research Park. All right, we're already starting to solve some of the limitations of our previous workflow where we're now connecting related information together in a single location. All right, let's keep building this out. I'm going to jump back into layout mode, and we have some space over here on the right. Let's think about what workflows we want to add. Well, I'd love to display some contract information. I'd also like to have some location information. So we're taking this tool out into the field. I love the ability to get directions directly from this app. And remember that work order spreadsheet? I definitely like to take that work order history and tie it to the appropriate customers. Now we do have some space over here on the right hand side, but maybe not enough to fit all three of those workflows. But let's go ahead and we're going to leverage this tab control tool, and that's going to allow us to take advantage of the real estate space that we do have left on our layout. So let's start creating some tabs here. We have one for contract, we'll have one for work orders, and we'll have one for map as well. Okay, we'll do a full justification and click OK. And the way that tab controls work, you just place objects and fields on the particular tab, and then you can view and access them when you click or tap on the appropriate tab. Again, a great way to save some space on your layout. Now let's focus on this contract tab. So I'm going to create a new field called contract. And like we learned previously, all media is stored in a container field. So I'm going to make that a container field. And then I'm just going to go ahead and drag and drop that right onto my layout. I'm also going to take this contracted work field, and this just has the work that I have contracted with the customer, so we know what jobs we need to perform. So I'll add that to my layout here. Okay. And I'm going to add one more field, and we're going to call it a signature field. What we're going to see later on is that you can actually capture a signature from FileMaker Go in a container field. So right now I'm just aligning, and this is exactly how you would design the layouts for your solution, just dragging and dropping your fields and designing and aligning them in whatever way makes sense for your business. All right, we're going to skip the work orders tab for now. Let's jump over to the map tab. And again, what I want to do on this tab is have the ability to get directions directly from this tool. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is leverage this web viewer tool. And a web viewer tool allows you to display a web browser directly on your layout. So I'm going to draw that on my layout. I get the web viewer setup window. And as you can see, there are different preset web addresses that you can select. You can also create your own web address. But we're going to use Google Maps. That makes sense for what we want to achieve. But you'll notice that when Google Maps is selected, we actually have the ability to populate some information directly from the records. So I can tell FileMaker, for that web address, go ahead and grab the value in the address field, and then grab the value in the city field, and then the same thing for the state, as well as the zip. Okay, we'll click OK. And I think what I'll do next is just quickly add the fields onto this particular tab. All right. Let me move my field picker over a little bit. And then I'll bring over the city, state, and zip, and make sure that comes out horizontally. And again, these are the same exact steps that you would follow to create your solution as well. Just dragging and dropping and realigning. All right, let's go ahead and exit the layout. Again, we're back in browse mode. This is where we can interact with our solution. And let's walk over to the contracts folder. And we have the Bryant Research contract. I'm just going to go ahead and drag and drop that right onto the layout. For the signature, we'll take a look at that later on. And then for the map, if I click on that, we'll see that the web viewer automatically updates, pulling the information in our address, city, state, and zip field. And again, it's not just Bryant Research Park. As we scroll through the records, you'll see the web viewer dynamically change, pulling that information just like we expected. Okay, so we covered a lot of ground here. We created a new app from spreadsheets. We optimized a layout with tab controls and fields to create a custom workflow that makes sense for our daily tasks. Conversely, think about the weeks you'd have to wait putting in a request to your IT team for a simple layout like this. I frequently have people telling me how frustrating it is to wait to add even just a single field to a report, and I'm sure many of you are in the same boat. But with the FileMaker platform, we're now freeing up a lot of time to focus our energies on more productive activities. And we're also creating a standard for how our team enters data to minimize loss. So this has been a fantastic start so far, and now I want to continue to connect our information. Remember, we had a spreadsheet of contacts and a separate spreadsheet of work orders associated with those contacts. It would definitely help our customer meetings to have all of that appropriate work order history just a click away. So I'm going to import the work order spreadsheet, create a relationship between the clients and work orders, and then use a portal to display all of the related records. And let's show you how to do that. So I'm going to go to File, Import Records, File, and then I'm going to browse to the work order spreadsheet. Open here. Now I don't want to have work order information imported into the current customers table. So I'm going to tell FileMaker, it makes more sense to create a brand new table for work orders, and then we'll import that data. And just like that, we have over 1,400 records imported. We have a brand new work orders table as well as a work orders layout. However, I want this work order information to display on this customers layout on the work orders tab. Now, when you want information from one table to display on a layout that's pulling from a different table, the first thing you'll need to do is create a relationship between those tables. So let's dive a little bit under the hood of the FileMaker platform. So I'm going to go to File, Manage Database, and here's where you can build on the schema or the back end of your app. So you can create tables, you can create fields associated with those tables, and then the real power of FileMaker, you can create relationships between those tables. And when you want to create a relationship, it's as simple as finding fields with common data. In this scenario, it probably makes sense to have a relationship based off of the customer number. So I'm going to take the customer number field from the customers table and just drag and drop right over to the customer number field in work orders. That easy. I now have a relationship in FileMaker. And all I'm really saying is just, hey, when there's records in the work orders table that have a customer number 1, share it with the first customer. When I have records in the work orders table that has a customer number 2, share it with the second customer, and so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and click OK. How do I get that information onto the work orders tab? Well, let's jump back into layout mode, and I'm going to leverage this tool called a portal. And a portal allows me to display related records from a related table. So it's asking me right now, well, what's that related table? We're going to choose work orders. I'll allow some scrolling. Click OK. And what fields do we want to have? Maybe the date, description, and hours. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And let me do my size here. That's good. Click Exit Layout. If I jump onto the Work Orders tab, there it is. Just a simple clicks, all that information related to this Brighton Research Park record. And again, it's not just Brighton Research Park. As we scroll through, you can see the information dynamically update based off of that main customer contact. Okay, so what did we do? We imported that work order spreadsheet. We created a relationship between the client and work orders tables, and then we displayed work order information via the portal tool. Again, just a few simple clicks, we started solving the limitations of working in spreadsheets and other applications that just don't connect information. So we're setting ourselves up for a more organized, more efficient workflow, and that means more time focusing on better results. So I like where we're at with the app, and I think it's time to share it with other users. Now, along with desktop access, I'm going to provide connectivity to my mobile users, and that means both my iOS and web browser groups. So will we have to rebuild our desktop app for iOS and the web? Well, let's take a look. First thing I need to do to share out this app is to send it up to FileMaker Server. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the share icon, select Upload to FileMaker Server, and click OK here. I'm going to choose my FileMaker Server machine. Right now I'm getting prompted that I don't have a SSL certificate, which is just a security check. In your solution as you deploy, you definitely want to use one, but for my test server, I didn't set one up. I'm just going to go ahead and click Upload. The file is being processed. We'll give that a second. And the file was uploaded successfully. And I'm going to tell FileMaker, go ahead and reopen that file with FileMaker Pro. Okay, click on Done. Now, it kind of looks like we were in that file that we were just working with, but as you can see in parentheses at the top, I'm given an indication that I'm actually accessing a FileMaker server hosted file. So we now know that we can access our file via the desktop. Great. Now, what about our iOS and web users? Well, in order to show you how to connect to iOS, what I'm going to do is launch this Reflector app. And Reflector allows me to AirPlay the iPad Air I have in my hands over onto the screen. So let me go ahead and do that now. Okay, there it is, the iPad Air I have in my hands right now. You'll see in the upper left corner, that's FileMaker Go, so I'm going to go ahead and tap on that. And here's FileMaker Go. Again, it's free to download off the App Store. You'll notice these 3 icons down at the bottom of the FileMaker Go screen. If I tap on Recent, this shows the apps that I've currently accessed. If I tap on Device, this shows that apps that are stored locally on this device. That's right, you can store copies directly on your device. So you can go out to the field, capture information when you're in an area with a bad network connection or you don't have any network to connect to. So you can work offline, and then when you do have a network connection, you can push your changes up to a hosted file. And then if I tap on hosts, this allows me to access FileMaker server machines that are on my local area network, or I can access remote FileMaker server machines as well. Well, here's my FileMaker server, and you can see second from that list on the second from the top is the customers file that we created. So I'm going to go ahead and tap on that. And just like that, we have our FileMaker app on our iOS device. I wasn't lying when I said you didn't have to recode Xcode or Swift to get your app to work on an iOS device. FileMaker handles all of that on the back end. And it works just like FileMaker Pro. You'll see that we can enter information and access the information here. The drop-down menu that we created for monthly and weekly, we can use that as well. And then we also talked about that signature field. If I'm having a conversation with Doris and she likes the term of the contract here, let's say that she's viewing the contract. The terms look good. She can then tap on the signature field and select signature here and select accept. So the workflow that we designed on the desktop works seamlessly on the iOS. Now let me go ahead and make this just a little bit smaller so I can fit our FileMaker Pro windows side by side. Okay. And as you can see here as well, all that information that we just added, like the signature, has updated. And we'll drive that point home again. You'll see that in real time. So let's say that I'm having a conversation with Doris. I have my iPad in my hands, and she actually tells me that she was married recently and her last name changed. So keep your eye on the FileMaker Pro side. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and change the name, last name from Doris to Frazier. I'm going to tap out of that field, and just like that, the FileMaker Pro adopts that change. Again, anyone who's accessing this file, desktop, mobile, other web browsers, everyone's going to see that change from Rojas to Frazier. Now let's take that a step further. Let's say that we're working with Doris and she also says that her email address has changed. So it's actually going to be doris.frazier. Now at the same time that we're working with this solution, same time that we're working in this record, we have an admin in the office, and the admin notices that the phone number needs to be updated as well. So watch what happens when the admin in the office tries to make a change at the same time I'm making a change on the iPad. So I'm going to go ahead and click delete, and we get this message essentially saying, hey, you can't modify this record because someone else is already modifying this record. We call that automatic record locking. Only one person can interact with a record at a given time, just ensuring that when you're working with FileMaker, you're always working with one version of the truth. So we know that we can get our app seamlessly onto an iOS device. Now what about the web? Well, let me go ahead and I'm going to hide this iOS for now. Our database is currently hosted by a FileMaker server, so that's step one. The next thing we need to do is configure some settings for WebDirect within the app. So I'm going to go to File, Manage Security. Now this is where you can add accounts, so who logs into the file, and privilege sets. So what can you do in the file once you've logged in? And you can create your own privilege set, and you can determine things like whether the user can print, save to Excel, what layouts they can see, what records they can access, what fields they can access. And then extended privileges, these essentially allow you to access the app based off of a certain technology. So for example, if your privilege set has FM app selected, you can access the solution via FileMaker Pro or FileMaker Go. For WebDirect, we need to make sure a group has access to the FM WebDirect extended privilege. So for this scenario, I'm just going to say that anyone who has a full access privilege set will be able to access it. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And the next thing I'm going to do is bring up a web browser, enter the IP address of my FileMaker server machine, put in a specific WebDirect URL, and we bring up the Launch Center. And this is where we can see all the databases that are currently or currently have WebDirect enabled. You'll see on the left-hand corner here the customer solution that we created. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And there is our solution. Again, we didn't have to recode any HTML. We didn't have to write in any scripting language like PHP. It just worked. And just like FileMaker Go, we can easily interact with our solution here as well. And it works just like the FileMaker Pro side. So let's bring up FileMaker Pro. Let's just make a quick change here. Let's say that we're having a discussion and with Bryant Research Park, and the manager has changed from Doris to Eric Brown. Okay, FileMaker Pro immediately adopts that change, and if we bring up our FileMaker Go, you can see the change is adopted here as well. Again, seamless access across desktop, mobile, web browser users, just like we expected. We uploaded our file to FileMaker server. We connected to it via FileMaker Go, as well as connected to FileMaker WebDirect. And then we demonstrated how you can access information in real time across all three technologies. Again, I wasn't lying when I said you didn't have to be an iOS or web developer to get your custom apps seamlessly over to those technology. It just works. Think about the cost and time we're saving on your projects, not having to recode to mobile technologies. So in about a half hour of work, we can now go to Jessie and show her a solution solving a lot of the obstacles bogging down our field process. We've created a way to view data in real time across the entire team. We've built a solution that's not bogged down by features we don't use or has us force-fitting our needs into the application, and has all of our data in one custom solution. So our jobs have become much more efficient. We're tackling our day-to-day tasks from a much easier approach. But what about Jessie? How does she benefit? Well, think about the top line we could affect by just fitting in that one more email or that one more call per day, and then roll that up across our entire sales team and think about what we could do over a week or months, and then think about what we could achieve in a year. So we were able to demonstrate a successful deployment of FileMaker and how to quickly tackle a small task. And I'd like to share a quote from one of FileMaker's customers that I think really sums up what we've learned today. George Page is a restaurateur, a cheesemaker, and the owner of Seabreeze Farm, an organic animal farm. Now, he uses FileMaker to track and understand daily production levels of cows for his dairy operation. In his wine cellar, FileMaker Go has replaced clipboards and is used to enter and track alcohol levels, pH readings, and historic data related to wine lots. His butcher shop uses FileMaker to track orders and deliveries of custom cuts of meat, while FileMaker acts as a point-of-sale system in his restaurant. So he has taken full advantage of FileMaker's platform with fantastic results, and he had this to say. I was able, by myself, to create custom solutions that our employees genuinely want to use. And you can read more about George's stories as well as stories from other industries in the customer story section of FileMaker's website. So if you haven't already, download a trial of FileMaker. You can also download FileMaker Server trial as well. It comes with 25 user connections, whether that's the on-premise or the cloud. And that also gives you access to FileMaker Go, which is a free download off the App Store, as well as our WebDirect web browser. So you can try out the entire FileMaker platform. And to help you evaluate the platform, we have a bunch of videos on our demo section, also FileMaker's YouTube channel. There's additional webinars that you can view, as well as starter solutions that ship with FileMaker Pro trial in the full version as well. But the starter solutions, really quickly, they're just FileMaker databases or FileMaker apps that we created. They have a few hours of development in them, and they each tackle a specific task. And these are the most common tasks that we come across in our daily conversations with customers. So there's starter solutions for inventory system, invoicing, contact management, content management, event planning. Again, these are fantastic springboards to get you ahead to where you want to go to. There's also a fantastic developer community that you can leverage. If you need some assistance, they can help you design your solution. You can use them in a mentoring where they can do some one-on-one training as well. And You can also speak to your licensing rep as well as the solution consultant team. We'd be happy to have a conversation with you and see how FileMaker can be a good fit. And then the FileMaker community, this is free to join. It's a fantastic resource. So when you join, you have access to a ton of free content. So we're talking white papers, technical briefs. We even post some of our videos from our annual developer conferences. And then we have the FileMaker community forums where you can ask as many questions as you want. You can bounce off ideas with other developers. Again, a really fantastic resource to use all throughout your FileMaker journey.